Hello?
Okay, go. What do you want, dude?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I think this is sort of misunderstood, that you sort of misunderstand is Marx does not
No,
like.
I understand 100%. That's just the fucking answer I'm giving every single fucking time somebody tells me that I think communism is really stupid. I understand that the fucking communism, that fucking Das Kapital is not. This is how communism works. It's a critique of capitalism that says that it'll inevitably lead to the rise of socialism. I know that. I understand that. Do you have an argument for communism or socialism, or did you just come here to drop that totally fucking retarded
No,
piece of information that
so-
I obviously fucking know because I've
so
heard it
the
a million
points-
fucking
the-
times?
So the points he makes is these are like the issues that capitalism faces, and
Yep.
this is how, the process to fix them, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you want me to just go through them, or if you can just look them up, because that would give you a better understanding than I can. But so like some of the problems he talks about, again, it's mostly like I'm more interested in like the more philosophical stuff rather than like the economic stuff. But like so let me think for a second. So okay, so one of the things he says is basically the one problem with capitalism is the existence of the proletariat. That if a proletariat exists in your society, that it basically it has to do with freedom, right? He really cares about freedom, and and when a proletariat exists in a society, then that society is not going to be very free, right? So the definition of proletariat is essentially, a group of people where their only way of sustaining themselves is to sell their labor, right? And so if you don't have any way of sustaining yourself other than selling your labor, you're not very free, right? You're kind of at the mercy of like the capitalists or whatever, right? So, for example, if you
Wait,
so
how
you
does that
have
even make
land-
sense? In a socialist system, wouldn't you still have to sell your labor, don't you? You just get paid
no,
more for it.
so let me no. So I'm not saying so again, I'm not talking about like some sort of perfect sort of society. We're just talking about the problems that we face, and yeah, it's basically just for the problems we face, right? So, for example, if you are
He
like
is whining the
again,
debate.
Marxism
Kill
cares
the
a lot about
stream and get
freedom.
Hassan in
So, for
Discord.
example, if you
Get him.
own land, maybe you're like a farmer or something, and you have like cows and sheep and whatever, and you can like sustain yourself, right? And then you could sell your labor to the capitalists in a city to work in a factory. You can choose whether you want to or not, right? So you can say, I can just stay in my farm and I can subsist and feed my family. Or
Why is this a problem? Can you convince me that this is even a problem?
Yeah, so like, so it's about like degrees, right? So slavery, you're a certain amount of sort of quote unquote free, right? You don't have to worry about like feeding yourself. You don't have to worry about like protecting yourself. And then in like a feudal society, you're a little bit more free, and then in a capitalist society, you're a little bit more free. And what he's talking about is he wants a society where again you're a little bit more free.
So a society where you're free to reap all the benefits of society without giving anything back to it? How the fuck does that possibly work?
Wait, what do you mean? I don't understand.
Because you're basically telling me that there's a problem that people have to work in order to get anything out of society. You're saying that's a problem.
No, it's about being a member of the proletariat, where the only thing you have is to sell your labor, so you're at the mercy of what the capitalists will give you.
Okay, wait. So, and what's the alternative to that?
So again, a system in which the proletariat like does not exist.
Which would make them what?
So, like again, he doesn't set up like the perfect. I can't tell you like this is like the perfect society. Like this is it. Like once you get this, it's all over. What he talks about is what at one point we're a slave society, then we're a feudal society, then we're a capitalist society, and then we move on from there, and then we move on from there, and so on and so forth. Like the point is
the whole argument is what you just said is the so on and so forth. You have to like talk about that. Where do we go next? How do we get rid of every proletariat?
Okay, so he talks about, so basically this is the mechanism, so this is the problems and then the mechanism for action. So like his mechanism for action is the proletariat violently revolting against the capitalists.
Okay, so how do they all become not proletariat? Then do they what, make robots work for them to build everything, or what? What's next?
Okay, so this is really important to note that Marx, and this is the more philosophical sense, he's not a utopian, he's not an idealist. He and one of the really important contributions from Marx in philosophy is the understanding of that, how important history is to understanding like scientific and philosophical thought, right? Like in order to, he says like history is the last science. You have to understand history to understand sort of every scientific point. You can't no like person like Newton can't just like pull out like the fucking law of gravity out of like thin air and like this is like the objective thing. Like, this is the correct answer. Like, we have it right here. This is the law of gravity, and it's like correct and right and everything, right? He's like limited by, you know, the time he lives in and the history and culture of his society. So he, you know, thinks of an idea, and this is like a good idea for now, but eventually we have to move on and move past from that. Like, he doesn't just
Yeah,
pull
what
out
are we
of
moving
nowhere.
on past to?
Again, the violent revolution. To
What does the violent revolution lead us to?
To the eradication of the proletariat.
How do we eradicate the proletariat?
Dude, these are not the questions. Again, you're asking questions that he doesn't like. Again, you can, if you want more of those type of answers, you can go and talk and learn more about like the what's it called, the Marxist or the Frankfurt School, and that's really where they talk about you know, why a lot of Karl Marx's predictions obviously didn't come true. And so so the Frankfurt School of people, they really talk about, you know, what happened, why did the, you know, violent proletariat revolution never happen, and sort of the reasons
I'm
for that.
asking like, how do you live in a society if you get benefits from that you don't have to sell your labor to? How else do you make a society function? That's my question.
Again, you're asking me a really complicated question that like, I, as a person in our society that's limited by our understanding of the world, I can't just pull out of thin air like this magical society that you talk about.
I'm not asking for magical. I'm just like, in general, I'm just asking for like, how would you envision that?
So, okay, so like, again, so you want people to have like choices and
Choices of what places to sell their labor to, or
no, of alternative ways other than of selling like your labor to.
Okay, can you give me an example of an alternative way?
I discussed earlier, like you have like a person on a farm who is able to subsist and live and support themselves, and then
wait, that subsisting on a farm and living is not being part of a society. Being self-sustaining is not.
No. You still live in a society and can, like, you know, exchange. You can exchange with other people. It's different from. So you still like exchange with other people and live like that, but again, it's about.
Wait, so you're saying that so somebody on a farm would exchange with other people?
This is the most.
So you're saying that they would use their labor to create a product that they would exchange with other people?
No. So these are different things. So we're talking about private property. So Marx talks about private property as two different things. Okay, so there's private property and the things that you're talking about, which happens. This is in the realm of exchange, and Marx doesn't really care about this. What he's talking about is in the realm of production and the private property in regards to the means of production. So if you have like a toothbrush or your cow or your car or whatever.
I don't understand what the distinction between personal property and private property has anything to do with the question.
No, it's two different types. It's two different types of private property.
Well, so yeah, one is personal like belongings and one is private property, right? Where private property is like capital. But this is not what we're talking about right now.
Specifically, it's things that produce surplus value.
Sure, but what I'm asking is how do you give to a society in a way that isn't your labor? And your example was, well, you could work on a farm.
No, it's just having an alternative. That's the point.
What is I mean, you can do that now if you want to go work on a farm.
No,
what do you mean?
You really can't.
What do you mean you can't?
I mean, you could, but again, it's not realistic.
To go plant crops but how is this not realistic?
Again, it's just an example. It's not like
I know, but your example is even working. So can you give me what it does? I know it's just an example.
Yeah, again, so the point is to have an alternative other than selling your labor. That's the point. Because
what is the alternative? That's what I'm asking. What is one alternative to selling your labor? Just one alternative, hypothetically. What is one alternative to selling your labor?
No, to be able to sustain yourself on like your own little farm and your own land.
So that's not being part of a society. So if I ask you, how can socialism work? You're like, oh, well, we need to get rid of the proletariat. Well, how do you get rid of the proletariat? Well, every single person has their own farm and lives on their own land in their own little area.
I'm just giving you one example of this. Again, I can't.
You didn't give me an example.
No, because I'm not trying to give you. Again, I feel like you're still misunderstanding the point. I'm not going to give you, like, here is the solution. This is how we get rid of it.
I'm not asking for the perfect solution. I just want one example because I'm a brainwashed capitalist. And the only way that I see somebody giving to society is through their labor right now. It seems to be that we exchange our time in the form of labor into society in exchange for some sort of currency that we can use to acquire other possessions because we have a big economy that it lets us do that. That's how I see these things working. And you're telling me that there's a way to do this without doing that. And I don't know how that works. So I'm just curious. What is it?
So again, no, you're not understanding. You would still give your labor to society, but you would have alternatives.
Alternative? What do you mean by alternatives?
Like, for example, like, okay, let me just, like, off the top of my head, might not be good, but we can go through it. Okay, so, like, for example, if we had a very robust like Social Security or social safety net system, you could choose to work or not work, right? So you could just stay at home and be bored all day, or you could
Okay, but
go
how
and
does a
sell your
society
labor.
like that work? So then we're back to
If
what
you,
I said before. How do you get things out of society without giving anything back? So everybody would
no,
just
you
make.
would though. People still would
How?
because people want to. Like you would still like
Okay, so you're telling me that in your system, people could stay home and do nothing, but everybody would choose to sell their labor anyway. How is that any different than capitalism?
no, you. I mean, no, because it's different because you have an alternative. It's the proletariat, dude. Like it would be completely different again. Marx says the existence of the proletariat is what defines capitalism, and that is what is wrong. If you do not have that, you do not have capitalism. You have a different system. So if in this system you can choose to sell your labor, then you are not a member of the proletariat because you can choose whether to sell your labor or not to.
Okay.
So, for example, if you fucking like, are a pianist and you have like another job or you have, again, like a welfare state or whatever, then somebody can come to your door and say, "Oh, can you play piano for me?" And you can say, "You know what? Yeah, sure." Or you say, "You know what? I don't really need it, so I'm not going to."
Okay.
So again, it's about the existence of a proletariat is what defines capitalism, and that he says that is what is wrong.
Gotcha. All right. Do you have any final parting closing thoughts for us?
I mean, do you want to learn more?
I feel like I haven't learned anything yet, other than
I don't want to
if we give somebody like the opportunity to not work, they will always choose to work in ways that are beneficial to society. But
no, like I mean, I can give you like some lectures or some books to read if you want.
oh, okay, thank you. I'm okay though, but I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. I love
Dude,
it.
okay, well, just one real quick. Okay, you go Kant, Hegel, Feuerbach, and then Marx, and then you'll finally
Oh,
realize.
so I need to get my undergrad in philosophy before I can even begin to interpret or understand anything about social. Gotcha. Sounds
I mean,
promising.
it's not entirely true. I mean, you can skip right to Marx if you want, but
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure most undergrads don't read all of fucking Kant.
you don't have to read all of it. I mean, just like Critique of Pure Reason, maybe like a couple other things. It's not really you don't have to read that much. Okay, like
Okay, I'll skim. Okay, thanks, buddy.
okay, I'll link you some.
All right.
All right, bye.
Jesus fucking Christ, never again. Get out of here, you goddamn fucking commies. I don't want you. Is this on streaming?